Dragon Ball Z, of course, has influenced everything. Everything it can't touch.
Life.
Yes, that's deep.
It has.
It's what your breakfast has had then. So, yeah.
I used to run every day exactly at 3 p.m. to get to my house to sit down and watch Dragon Ball Z.
When I was in 5th grade, I'm 30 now, so do the math. 5 o'clock in the morning, I would wake up to go to 5th grade just to watch Dragon Ball. Later on, when Funimation picked it up and was put on Cartoon Network, it just sealed the deal for me. I just watched everything else after that.
The best thing about it, I'm going to say, is, the martial arts. First time I saw Kid Goku turn into a gorilla, it was just like, oh man, I wish I could do that.
Dragon Ball Z with me, I first saw it on Cartoon Network when they did that whole anime stream, and that's when I got first introduced to Dragon Ball Z. For me, I kind of like the girls, just because they can kick butt too, and it's nice to see them basically get their dues in on the show as well.
For me, it has to be Christopher, the voice of Vegeta. That dude, hands down, is the best.
It was Dragon Ball Z was my first favorite show until I realized there's other anime out there. But the guy who was Vegeta, because he was on a bunch of other different shows, I always noticed his voice directly. So I don't know his name per se, but whoever you are, and the voice of Vegeta, you are a great voice actor because I hear it everywhere and it's very distinct. So great job on that one.
Christopher Sabat, you blow my mind. You are everybody at the same time, and you do so much. Without you, I don't know what Dragon Ball Z would be, because you literally are everybody.
So to explain, I know that people joke about me being the voice of Dragon Ball Z, and that's true, obviously, because I'm pretty amazing. But truth of the matter is, dude, I was like a guy in college that got this job working for Funimation, and I remember the meeting where I sat down with Barry. He was like, Chris, we're gonna offer you, now there's more to the story, but I remember the day when I sat down, he's like, we're gonna offer you a job here, full-time, $20,000 a year. Do you want it? I'm like, let me see. Okay, in college, working on my degree, can take this job, making $20,000 a year, working on a Japanese cartoon, which I didn't even know what it was at the time. I'll take it, yes. So Funimation was like pretty low budget then, because it's expensive to record. Believe it or not, it's expensive to record voices, and to record an anime, which takes even longer to record than, say, something prelay like South Park or The Simpsons, where all the actors come into one place. It takes so long to dub something that if you paid actors a ton of money per hour to dub anime, Funimation would have been broke before they finished one episode. So remember, they didn't have a lot of money to hire a lot of actors, and when we were casting Dragon Ball Z, we didn't have a large actor pool at the beginning. I think there were 11 people on our cast list from that first year. There were like 11 people is all we could find that were willing to work for the rates that Funimation was willing to pay at that time. And so whenever there were new roles that would come up and we were auditioning, I remember them going, well, Chris, you want to give it a shot? Yeah. And to them, I was sort of a free voice. And to me, I was saving myself time because it was really hard to find people that would work at the rates that Funimation was paying. So I didn't realize the impact that doing so many voices would have on my life and on the show. And I really didn't have much of a choice in the matter. Like when your boss says, you're that green guy, Piccolo, and you're that guy with the spiky hair, Vegeta, and you're that guy, Yamcha, and oh, well, that guy's got a low voice, why don't you do, Gaz and Mez and all these other characters? You don't argue. And granted, I paid my dues, because back in those early days, we had to scream and scream and scream and scream for hours on end, and doing all those voices was extremely taxing. I sometimes get a little defensive, and I do joke at conventions and in public and in restaurants and at grocery stores or anyone I could talk to that might ever talk to me about Dragon Ball Z without laughing at me. I didn't cast myself on that for any sort of vanity whatsoever, because I didn't know that Dragon Ball Z was going to be such a huge success. To me, I didn't know much about the show at all, and so I just didn't understand the impact that would ultimately have. People have kind of joked with me about it. Now, granted, once we started getting good cast members, like, Eric Vale came in, and then Chuck Huber, we found him, and then we found Laura Bailey and Meredith McCoy, and all these good people, and Kent Williams started coming up. Then all of a sudden, like, the Android saga is really when the great casting started happening. Not to say that any of the original cast was bad or substandard in any way, but that's when people started discovering, oh, Dragon Ball Z is on TV. That's when people started recommending actors to us. That's when people were kind of interested in working for Funimation. So we, it got a lot more interesting during the Android saga as far as casting was concerned.
I saw Dragon Ball when I was little. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. My first impression was that it was awesome because at the time I was really into Power Rangers, and I thought that it just blew Power Rangers out of the water. I loved it. I loved the action. I loved the characters were unique to me because anime wasn't something that I was familiar with. So it definitely was my first introduction to sort of that sort of animation.
I have a very hard time taking myself or anything seriously, for that matter, but I do feel like I was there making a show that magically became popular. I don't honestly think I had, or any of us really, had anything to do with Dragon Ball Z's success. And I think Dragon Ball Z just has some sort of magical visual drug in it that makes people like it. Because it wouldn't matter what we did to Dragon Ball Z. In fact, if you look at it, especially those original that first season or two, those are some pretty sketchy dubs. Like in today's standards, like compared to what we do now, like they're kind of something we chuckle at because we were so new and it was so foreign to us in many senses of the word that I don't know. I think I was very, very lucky to have been at the right place at the right time and just did what we thought was right to try and get a show on American television in the early 90s. We weren't thinking of the anime fan. There weren't conventions that we were going to back then. Funimation wasn't active in that. I didn't even hardly know they existed. There was no internet that you could go find fan subs on very easily. That you couldn't find, there wasn't a Wikipedia that had all of this Dragon Ball Z data. All we had were these old boxes that were being shipped over on a boat from Japan that had a bunch of random stuff in it with these posters, and we were looking at them and like, who's that? That's Goku. But I thought Goku had black hair. Oh no, Goku's this is later, I think. This is Goku with blonde hair. Okay, so this one's Goku. No, that's Gohan. No, I thought Gohan was a small one. No, well, it's when he's larger. Well, who's that? Well, that's Gohan too. But I thought he had brown hair. Well, he has yellow hair too eventually. And like, okay, so this one's Gohan. No, that's Goku. I'm like, but he looks just like Gohan. Well, no, that's Goku, I think, from something later. There were all these posters. We hardly knew what they were because when I went into Dragon Ball, we didn't even know what the end of the story was going to be necessarily. It's embarrassing to admit, but there wasn't. Who were we gonna ask? Like, Funimation wasn't really tied into the hardcore anime community at that time. In fact, I think if I'd asked anybody at that time to help me, they wouldn't have helped because anime people did not like Funimation back then. I mean, it's a reality, and I can understand why, because Funimation was commercializing something that they loved. And just like anyone, like even me or anyone out there who likes something that they consider cool, and then the minute it's commercialized, it's just not cool anymore. And And so I guess that's what Funimation was trying to do, and that was our only goal, is to try and make sure that it got on TV. And for better or worse, whether you like Dragon Ball Z or not, or whether you think Funimation destroyed it or not, Funimation did take Dragon Ball Z and they got it on the air, and it opened the door to a lot of people finding out about anime. And so you may not like Dragon Ball Z specifically, there's a good chance that you might possibly owe your love of anime to Dragon Ball Z. Whether it was you, or it was your older brother, or your older sister, or whether it was that friend of yours who introduced somebody, at some point somebody watched Dragon Ball Z and said, oh, this stuff's from Japan? No, let me check this stuff out.
When I was a kid, I would, with my VHS, I would record episodes of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and I would build a fort, and I had a portable TV, and I would always put it in, and I would watch episodes that I recorded that week. So it's like, growing up, I always wanted to do something Dragon Ball Z related.
Because it's over 9,000, duh. That's why it's lasted so long. It's over 9,000.
But at conventions, it's definitely, over the years, you've seen multiple people who were like, started out with Dragon Ball Z, watching it in the mornings, and then found out this wonderful world of anime, there's more than just Dragon Ball Z, and came out to this, but their love for Dragon Ball Z never dropped, never faltered. I've seen at least 3 Goku cosplays come by like that.
Yeah, you're never too old for Dragon Ball Z.
You're never too old for Dragon Ball Z, at all, even if you're starting new along those lines.
Going back to my first audition at Funimation, it was very informal. I remember it was just reading on a microphone that was sitting in a room, and there was like 4 dudes. I think it was Barry Watson and Moses Vega and possibly Byron Watson. Byron was Barry's brother. And I don't even think Daniel Mancia worked there at the time yet. It was a small group of people, and we were just reading off of a character side, and they were recording your audition on cassette. That's basically all it was. The auditions were funny. I remember my first audition was for Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle, which was different than the auditions for Dragon Ball Z, because this was for a Dragon Ball feature. It was kind of Funimation's first test to see if they were able to dub DBZ in the US. So I remember that was extremely informal, and I think I made like $11 an hour or something dubbing that movie. I mean, it was a seriously crazy low budget test. I think we were lucky that we even got paid to do it. So I auditioned for Funimation. We worked on that movie. That took about like 2 or 3 sessions or something like that, because I was cast as Yamcha and as a character Igor, which is a little, I don't know, it was kind of a Dracula's castle type of thing, so he was a little underling. We recorded that, and then I didn't hear from Funimation for a while, like 6 months or so, maybe 4 or 6 months, and then I heard from Carly Hunter, who was, I think, the first non-family member hired at Funimation. Like, everybody was related to somebody at Funimation until Carly Hunter was hired, and she was my friend in college, and she called me up saying, hey, Barry really liked your stuff that you did on Sleeping Princess and Devil's Castle. He wants to talk to you about perhaps coming in house and working with us. I'm like, cool. What is it you do? You like paint panties out of episodes of Dragon Ball? I like your job. Okay, let's do this. So I was then hired, I guess, after meeting with Barry, I guess I was hired to be the casting director and the assistant director, which is basically someone to help Barry cast a show and then watch him as he directed people.
Vegeta is a great counterpart to Goku, so their voices, the voice actors, kudos.
The story that it was told in Dragon Ball Z, it's around fighting, but it teaches lessons about humility, about coming of age, taking responsibility, always meeting new challenges and surpassing them through Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Piccolo.
Well, everybody always talks about the rivalry between Kakarot and Vegeta, but the problem is Vegeta has never lost to Goku. That's a little known fact, but he's never lost to Goku.
Vegeta is the character I am closest to in Dragon Ball, because he is my favorite character in the show. And I feel really, really happy that I got to voice him. If you said you had to give up every single character but one, I would keep Vegeta 11 times out of 10 because he's the kind of guy I would actually want on my team. He doesn't talk too much. He's not a dork, and he usually has the best ideas. I mean, if they left it all up to Vegeta, Dragon Ball Z would have been over a lot earlier than it was. Like, I say we go in and destroy them now! And then, boom, they destroy him. It's over. Done. Roll credits. Dragon Soul. Vegeta's transformation throughout the series was interesting to me because I got to, as I mentioned, or as I've mentioned before to people, we didn't know a whole lot about the series, where it was going, or exactly where it was going to end up. So I was a fan of the show as I was recording it, especially of Vegeta. I didn't know what was going to happen to him. So every time Vegeta would power up, every time he'd become another level of Super Saiyan, every time he came in as Super Vegeta, those are really cool moments for me as a fan of Vegeta and as the guy who got to play Vegeta. And so I felt like as an actor, I grew as Vegeta grew. Because the more powerful he got, I felt the better I got. Because I really got into his character. I loved the struggle that he was dealing with. There's this doofus of a guy, this happy-go-lucky kind of doofus hero that all this great stuff just sort of magically happens to without him even having to really try. And then Vegeta, who's had a pretty crap life, honestly. Like his whole planet was destroyed when he was a kid. His dad probably wasn't very present in his life, and then his surrogate father became Frieza. Not a cool upbringing to have. I think he just has the richest story because he's got such an amazing kind of revenge story. And then he also redeems himself throughout the whole series. He just has all of these. He probably wasn't tested very much when he was a kid because he was the king's son. He then became the king of the galaxy's, bastard son. No one probably did much to test Vegeta. Sure, they sent him out on training missions, and they explained some of that in the Bardock series, but he had a pretty tough life. So it's interesting to see him come to terms with not necessarily being the most powerful, the strongest person in the universe as he always wanted to be, but accepting the fact that he's grown up, he has a family now, he has a son, and it's really neat to watch him transform into a guy who was just completely merciless to somebody in the Buu saga, where he basically wants to give up his own life to save these Earthlings that he claims to hate so much. So Vegeta is just such a rich, awesome character.
Directly to Chris Sabat, I would like to say thank you so much for doing the voice of Vegeta. I enjoyed the Ocean dub, but your dub was vastly superior in capturing Vegeta. You portrayed the character amazing. Growing up, I didn't really have a lot of father figures, but you being Vegeta was my father figure, and I really appreciate what you taught me through the character of Vegeta. And I hope in more future animations for Funimation you keep it going and still be in the community and still communicate with the Dragon Ball Z fans. I love you, man.